Happy rails to you. Welcome back, my friends. Happy rails to you. It's good to see you again. Thanks for watching the channel and the videos. Sometimes they go real fast and sometimes they're slow. Happy rails to you. Glad you're watching. Well, hello everybody. This is GMan, My World 67. Well, it's been a while since I've done a video. I haven't been too well, as you know, but I'm doing a whole lot better now. I'm still not operating at 100%, but I am walking again now, and I'm just moved from the walker to the cane, and so I'm making progress. My hands are still bothering me a little bit, but I'm able to move around some now. Still can't go out in the shop and work out there, so I'm still limited to my desk. But never mind all that. I thought I'd get a video out so that you guys could see something and give me something to do. I'm digging around in my box under my desk. I came up with this number 10 American Flyer. See the number 10 there, AF 10. And this was missing. I was under the assumption, I never checked it, that the motor did not run. So I got to fooling around with it, and I got the motor running, and it was missing 2 wheels on the front. So I just put these 2 wheels on here. They're not American Flyer wheels, they're Marks wheels, and I had to modify them so that they would work. Now the front shafts on these are threaded. So I had to bore out, I ground down the backside hub on the Marks wheels a little bit, and then bored out the hole, as the hole was actually large enough except for around the collar where the threads ended. It was a larger bore, so it was a different size. So I had to bore out the hub a little bit in a ways so that it would actually go over that portion of axle. And then, not having the right nuts for these, I had to use regular hex nuts. And so this is just temporary for however long it lasts, until I find some American Flyer wheels and do it original. Or it might just stay like that because it works. But I just put these on, and as I say, I had to ground down the backside of the hubs a little bit because the shaft on the hub was a little bit too long, and then I had to bore it out partially in just a little bit, less than, I don't even know, less than an eighth of an inch, probably, if that's even possible. So that it would fit over the shaft, and there you have it. Independent wheels, they roll, and they also turn with the axle. That one's a little tight. I probably need to see what it's doing. Yeah, it's just a little tight. I need to back that nut off just a little bit. So anyway, the engine actually runs, and I'll show you in a little bit. I'm gonna let that sit for a little while. The focus is going to be this 120, number 120 tender that goes with this engine. Now, the unusual thing about this tender is they're usually the black and silver or the black and white tenders. And this is a red 120. And the red 120s are usually found with the number 28, I believe, red American Flyer engine, which is a steel engine, and it's not die cast. And so, or what you would call a tin type. And so it's got some lettering damage and some discoloration. And the frame itself is not really too bad. It cleaned up nicely, well, as nice as it can be. And I just sprayed it down with some alcohol. I'm going to wipe it down. And we're going to use a magic marker or a permanent marker, as some people call them. And we're going to go ahead and get rid of these spots. And then we're going to go ahead and remount this outside tender shell after I do some work to it. I'm going to try to bring back those letters as best I can and put a little coloration to the shell. And then once we get all of that done, we're going to see what we can do about putting an insert in here for the coal. And it's supposed to have a light housing on the back. Now, it did not work. The light housing never worked. It was a wind-up train, remember? So keep that in mind. So I probably won't light it. I might just for fun. But probably not. And but I will try to recreate that little housing on the back for that light. Okay. Good to see all you guys. I hope everything's okay with everybody. Everyone else is doing okay. And so let's begin. As I said, we're going to start with cleaning up this tender frame. Okay, so I'm taking the indelible marker, magic marker, permanent marker, whatever you want to call it. And I'm just touching up these spots on here. This is on the inside, so nobody ever sees this anyway. But for all intents purposes, it's just, you know, I like them to be covered. It just takes a few minutes. And it kind of keeps them from helping to develop rust. There's whatever chemical is in these markers kind of helps resist rust. So that's a good thing. Now, as for me, I had, before I went into the hospital, some kind of, my sinuses were really acting up really bad. It's the worst. It's been the worst season, the worst year for me with my sinuses, but I never had them act up like they were right before I went into the hospital, and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And finally, the doctor finally gave me something for it the other day, and I'm still taking my Claritin. But I think I was ending up with a serious head cold. I did not have a sinus infection, but it's left me with my already trouble I was having breathing, with making it harder for me to breathe. And then everything and anything would set it off. Just coughing, constantly coughing. And so needless to say, I can't paint, which I was having problems already with being able to paint because of my breathing. Okay. So it'll be a while until I get over this sinus thing before I can actually do any painting. So we have to do what we can do. And this is kind of hard too, a little bit sometimes because of the smell that's thrown off by the markers. So that's why I have to use them quickly and get done with them. So I just decided while we were doing this to go ahead and retouch this whole thing up. And that'd be better for the old paint. Got a little dent right there. Okay. It's all done. Now keep in mind, these are just quick ways to do things. They're not necessarily correct. They're not incorrect either. I mean, if you want something, if you're restoring something or you're fixing up and you want it all original, maybe don't use any of these methods. Although the marker doesn't hurt anything. It like I said, it kind of restores your finish. And when you shoot clear over top of it, you're good as gold. And so, but as to other things that are done, like we'll come back to that engine in a minute, and I'll talk about those wheels a little more. Like things like that, or custom work, to whereas you're building things, like when I built the U.S. Army 410. And, you know, things of that nature. You might not want to do some of the things that are done. Or you might find your own ways you might want to do it, which is okay too. But if you have some stuff, you're not trying to restore it, you're just trying to put it back together, make it serviceable, have it look good, and be able to operate reliably. Some of these things will work for you. Okay. We're going to let that dry for a few minutes. It really doesn't take that long for that marker to dry, but I want it to actually soak into the paint a little bit. So we're going to take a break and we'll be right back. Okay, we're back. While that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and see what I can do with the lettering on this tinder. Now, of course, the gold that I'm using and the gold that they used will never match. But I do have a gold that comes close in a marker, but the problem with the marker is it's too wide a tip. To actually work with. So we have to use a toothpick. And it's tedious. Okay, well, we got the I don't know if you can see it or not, but let's see. We got the lettering touched up. It's not perfect, but at least you can see it and read it now. Both sides. Whereas before you couldn't even hardly see it. We've taken a red permanent marker and we've gone over all the red. And that just kind of refinishes it. It doesn't, get rid of the spots or anything. It doesn't do any of that. And it will not. But it just gives it its color back. And that's really all we want to do with it. This area here, if you can see that or not, but this area right here, and this top part of this trim is all supposed to be green, but it also shares a gold stripe. You can see that little tint of gold right there down the side under it. So we're going to attempt to redo that. Again with a marker. I have a green marker. And we're going to try it and see how it looks first, before we go too far with it. So we'll do this side first. We'll do this side. Try to stay off of the gold. It's got a real small line. It's actually looking pretty good. Across the top. It all but almost disappears because of the way the tender is made. And it picks up again on the ends. And we'll have to do the gold stripe on this side. It's just about gone. And there's no evidence of green across this backside. Looks like it was all gold. And again, there's only slight evidence of any green till you get to right here. And then it kind of goes across this little small, really thin area right here. which is really hard to cover. And around. Okay. So, now to do the gold on here, we're going to try to use our gold marker, permanent marker. And it's a little bit different shade of gold than the gold paint. Yeah, I see this is supposed to be green. Between the two. Okay. This is gold. And this is gold. Okay. So we'll let that dry and then we'll come back and we'll touch it up.